Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Noah and Jake Smith, twins actually, who have teamed up. That's pretty neat. We haven't had twins in business together on the show yet. It's a first for everything. And when you look at the work these gentlemen are doing, the excitement they bring to St. Louis, fun guys too. Jake over there, I think he's a part-time comedian, and we love that because that brings some excitement. That develops relationships. I think people wonder why I do this whole Cardinal Cowboy thing. That's because it gives me the opportunity to make people smile and be involved. But the work you guys do, if you need a fence or a deck, ladies and gentlemen, get a hold of Exterior Experience Fence and Deck here, St. Louis FenceDeck.com. You guys have a dad who's good at helping us with this stuff too. We've talked about SEO. I'm like, okay, we're gonna talk about SEO. He said, that's what our dad does. I'm like, whew, all right, now we're really gonna get some work done. But we want to give you an incredible experience here on our show, hopefully, because we want to highlight the good work that you guys do. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you so much for having us. Yeah, it's been so super fun so far.
Yeah, well, it's other friend when you and we're very candid with everything we talk about here. But when Jake first showed up on our set here, I was like, I can't read you, and I just tell people straight up, hard to read you. Don't know, and I told you, I said, I'm not sure. What do you think about what we're talking about putting together to highlight you? And you said, yeah, I kind of like it actually. I was like, oh wow, I thought the opposite because it just you have that kind of fun personality. I really think that's part of it. So tell me a little bit more about what it is you guys enjoy with what you do and why you guys decided to start a fence and deck exterior. You do some pools too. We're going to talk about that a little bit as well. Talk about this. Who wants to lead off for me?
I'll start real quick. You know, as far as fences and decks go, we did some interior work. I mean, we've always liked doing construction and whatnot, you know, but we've done some kitchens, some bathrooms, things like that. But for me, in my comfort zone, I just preferred being in clients' backyards and like all up in their business, being inside their house, walking around. Especially if projects last longer than a week or so, then I just feel more comfortable just working outside their house, and then everybody kind of gets to coexist but not be in such close quarters, you know?
Well, that's important. I mean, you're developing the relationship with a family here many times, and where do they spend their time, and what do they do to be leisure and take a load off and enjoy what they're at, and also kind of define the borders, right? Keep the dog in case there, so it doesn't cause other problems. But a lot of people enjoy their families and their pets and all the excitement they have. That keep the kids corralled a little bit too. That's
for sure.
Noah, tell me, what's this about, man? It's obviously you took the leap a little bit here.
Yeah, so we were like 4 or 5 years ago working for another fence contractor under River City Fence Company, and he unfortunately passed away in 2020. And then Jake and I started our own business to kind of pick up where he left off. I had some experience framing houses with the Carpenters Union, so we kind of threw in the deck as well as fences to the previous business model that our friend Will had with River City Fence Company. He didn't do decks, he only did fences. So that was something that we added when we created our own business.
Well, it's been like going deeper than just fences and decks. We've done patios, like garden beds, like pretty much anything outside that's like structural we'll do and pull off pretty well.
Exterior carpentry is
Okay.
kind of what we base our business around.
Yeah, so anything on the outside of the house, and we talked a little bit about in our pregame prep. We had an initial meeting where we kind of game planned with this a little bit, and it came about essentially inside the house, a different set of just a different vibe and a different way you have to manage everything. The outside, you get to enjoy the world a little bit more. Was there? You guys want to tell me a little bit about the reason why you prefer doing exterior versus interior?
Like, you know, like I mentioned, I just don't like being that close into somebody's house. Like being, you know, like all up in their business kind of always made me uncomfortable, you know. And I like working outside. All we need is an outlet. Everybody needs, you know, everybody has an outlet outside their house somewhere, you know. So, you know, we just get to roll up. We don't have to knock on the door, kind of like set up, you know, people could not even be home and we could start our day already, you know. So it's pretty like, as far as the client goes, it's pretty hands off, you know. Like they don't really have to talk to us at all, and a lot of people don't. You know?
Here's the work. Go get it and see what you get. Tell us when it's done, kind of thing. Is that sometimes the way it goes? I mean, it depends on the client. Everybody's different.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like when we finish up, I like to walk them through it, see if they want us to do anything else, and then ask for their money, and then and then we leave.
See, we're talking about very candid to the point. We enjoy that on our planet because life is short. Might as well get to the point. We're here to make money. You gotta work for a living too, I'm sure. So let's all just get our work done. We got an awesome product that looks great. We're going to show that off a little bit. Before I do that, let's talk a little bit about our sponsors. Many people are familiar with the wonderful sponsorships that we do have here in our studio. You can see them on the wall behind me. Carroll House Furniture, because you like nice things. And we like to show that off a little bit because I'll switch over here and I might even go over to one of our walls. I'll put up on the wall there for everybody. Carroll House, because you like nice things in your little castle. With that, we also talk about our partnership with USA Mortgage, powered by the Flowers team, working with them all the time. Actually, had a meeting today that I had to miss the meeting because I have other things we're working on, and I'll get back and keep up with those guys. But great work that they do to really help our world and our community. And with that, I will jump into showing everybody the work that you guys do. And you got a great looking website here. It's nice to have somebody in the family that can help with that. There's your guys' Facebook page, and if you look then on the wall behind us, this is our TV wall number 1, the original TV wall. As I go back out to our wide shot of us talking a little bit, tell me about some of the work you've got here and what you would like to share with everybody specifically as we go through. Let's just take a quick look at the Facebook page, and you've got some good information out there, but then I want to jump over to your website, and we got a bunch of pictures that I want everybody to look at because that's how you really get to see what somebody's done. Videos do a good job, but I like to analyze pictures when I'm looking at this kind of stuff because you can see the video goes by so quickly. Video's great, need it, but the pictures really let you look at the detail. And we're going to zoom in on some of those pictures.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Is that all right? But before all that, let's get into this. You talked a little bit about the path. I want people to get a little bit more of the background from you guys, if you will, a little bit. Both of you guys are St. Louis natives?
We went to Lafayette High School out in Wildwood, and then when we graduated high school, we moved down to South City and have been there for the past like 10 years or so.
Okay. And is this kind of a mutual thing where both of you decided this is what you were going to do together?
I am.
And so you said,
They've been to the same house and everything.
Oh, really? And so brothers, twins that grew up together, and then when it came down to it, you said, let's get a place and keep this thing going together, and that's how you guys makes it very efficient to run a business that way, too.
Well, we don't live together now.
Okay.
But
Okay.
After we graduated high school and we left Wildwood, we rented a house in Dogtown together, and then separate houses since. So
Okay, yeah.
don't live together.
The problem.
That'd be kind of weird.
How my dad is up at the next level. We joke, saying the next level being that's not something to joke about so much, but he's up in heaven right now. And my dad mentioned to my mom, "You're going to end up living with Carter." So this is going to work. And so the point is, we all just have a function to where we got to make this whole world work. And I guess that's what you guys get to really help people with, because they've got their little castle. This is exactly what we're looking to share with people on our show. They've got their little castle, and a lot of times it isn't quite the castle they want it to be. That's what you guys help make it into, especially on the exterior, right? Who wants to talk about how you really help people to do that, and what the method is, and why you guys decided this is such a passion for you guys?
We mainly work out of South City. So people in South City, a lot of the times, their deck or fence projects are a lot more of a necessity than like a desire. Like you go out to like Wildwood or Eureka, or like out in the county, people are building like really massive, expensive decks, and which are great. We love big decks, but in the city, a lot of times it's like a really old house that's 100+ years old, and the deck has been there for 80 years, and it's just completely rotting off, and it's dangerous for people to get in and out of their house. And a lot of the bigger deck companies don't really want to mess with those projects. And we actually really like doing those projects because it gives people a chance to like make something simple as like getting to their front door or getting to their back door from their car a lot easier every single day. You do that multiple times a day, every single day, and you're like, wow, this is a really big part of my life that I don't really think about. This like small 4x4 deck structure that's been here, you know?
That's an interesting perspective, and a lot of people I've talked to, we don't really focus on that. It's just like, hey, I need a deck. Hey, I need this. But when you really talk about the functionality, I'm a weirdo a little bit. Some people know this about me. I have some caveats, and I think everybody's got their own little uniqueness, if you will. Mm-hmm. I found it was in my own house, which maybe I'll show this to you sometimes. I figured out that my laundry room was right below the bedroom, but I had to walk all the way across the house, go down the steps, and then all the way back right to where I was above. So we created a hatch, and now you can actually go up and down the hatch. These are the kinds of things you can help people implement on the exterior of their house to make it life easier. Not just a deck, not just a fence, but that's I like what you said, carpentry for the outside of the house.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, tell me why you feel like it's something that's so important. I mean, that's what you were saying, Noah. If Jake, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I like what he said, where like in the city, it's definitely like a necessity. Like out in the county or like McBride, you know, they build subdivisions and they don't even build fences or decks, you know, for anybody, you know. And so it's like out in the county, you don't really like, it's more of like a luxury, you don't really need it. But in the city, it's like you're such close quarters, you know, if your fence is falling down, you probably don't have a relationship with the person next door or something like that. And then just like getting in and out of your car or the street or something like that too. And also like people, I would say like in the city, you know, that the smaller projects that we build are not as expensive as they need to be, but the people we are normally working for don't usually make as much money as people that are dropping $80,000 on a deck, you know? And so I think we come into that like income bracket that's really important that we're probably in ourselves, that is just like the working man that has enough money, and like people are doing it because they need it, not because they're like trying to show off to their neighbors or anything like that, you know? So
I think that's a great point, and that's kind of where I was going to just as a matter of point. I understand that from a perspective that there are a lot of very high level, super duper video production things you can put together. Mm-hmm. But we wanted to put something together that just helped the smaller to mid-sized business put themselves on camera so that they can see and share what they do. And so you're really feeling a void. I think that a lot of people are going, everybody I know wants to sell that $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 deck, but how many people are there that, you know, you may have to do 2 decks versus 1, but the money's still going to be there to make a good living, and you're then helping a whole, you know, group of people that really need these kinds of things because they want their house values to go up. They want to have the accommodations necessary. They want to have the fun place for their kids to play. That's a pretty neat little caveat you guys have taken on there.
Yeah, and a lot of the big companies like won't even go down to the city to build a fence because the ground is so messed up, because there's like for hundreds of years been like people buried concrete, or we built this one fence, that entire house foundation was on the fence line that was just completely buried, you know. And so like the digging is so intense down there that a lot of the fence companies around town won't even do it in the city because they just go out to the county where like it's nice clean soil, you know.
That's a great caveat too. There's more work that may take to go into these things, and so then how do you get these things done? A little bit of extra sweat equity, but it shows the effort you guys are willing to put in to make this work.
And you know, like we've lived in South City for so long, like it's our home. We like to see the improvement down there as well, and I feel very happy and blessed to be a part of it, you know, because we could drive down like Tower Grove, any street down Tower Grove, you know, like around Tower Grove Park, and be like, oh, we did that, we did that, we did that, we did that, you know.
Now we're really talking about. So I'm getting out the cowboy hat here early, everybody. If you notice, I just put on my Cardinal cowboy hat because the reason, Noah, you mentioned me, he says, you're gonna wear the hat, and I'm like, I will. I'm gonna put it on during the show, and I do that during the show to make the point when you guys are doing something I feel is really affecting the community. And it's not that any time during a discussion somebody isn't really helping the community. But man, you made such a great point there, Jake, that it is. These are the little differences that we make in our community by putting a little bit extra effort in, by seeing somebody needed some attention that otherwise has been overlooked, and it helps to bring the whole thing together. And I think the city, in any major metropolitan city in this country now, is going from, it's 200, 300, years old in some cases. So there's a lot of stuff that's been done and a lot of renovations that have been recycled. And so you're really helping to bring the life back to this wonderful city. And I think it might be a model for a lot of other cities too.
I like to think so, definitely.
All right, Noah, I mean, tell me a little bit about your background with regard. I always ask somebody, give me a hobby that you had as a kid, or maybe a hobby you have now that kind of ties into this, so that we can help understand what makes Noah's mind tick a little bit.
Jake and I, or myself, we've both always kind of been creative individuals. Like whether it was like we played music a lot growing up, and we still go to concerts like multiple times a week. And we just like being really creative, and this was something that was really works out the creative part of our brain, but was also of high value that we can make a decent living doing, because a lot of creative outlets don't pay very well. So this was a good opportunity for us to be creative, build stuff for other people, help other people, work with our hands and create a career for ourselves and help other people as far as our clients go. And also we've taught a lot of our friends this skill, and we employ only our friends really. So it's nice being able to like provide living wages for people we have been cared for a while too.
Well, tell me then, Noah, about that. I mean, as a matter of somebody in the community, is that true? The music background, what would you say was it for you that led to the way we always want to focus on the passion somebody has, because if they have a passion for it, then they're going to really go after it and do it right. And do you buy in there with Noah a little bit about?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Yeah. I mean, like we've always done everything together. We were in a band together. I guess we still technically are for, since we were kids really. And I like working with my hands. I like being outside. It's, it pretty much just like checks all the boxes, So, and we get to kind of divide and conquer. So I'm out there with the team most of the time, and we're building the thing, and then he's in the office making the sales calls, pulling the permits, drawing the plans and things like that. And I think that's the fact that we're younger than most of the people like doing this kind of stuff actually kind of helps us out in different avenues, because what he does on the computer to make the designs and show people like a 3D model of what we're about to build for them before we even show up to their door, I think is pretty important for the people who are buying this thing to like be able to visualize it, instead of like some old dude with a scribbled piece of paper that's all wrinkled up. He's like, it's gonna be like $10,000,
I like the candidness there. I mean, that's part of the discussion we had. I think it is notable that you guys, and I want to bring up how many years of actual experience do you guys have? Did you bring it to the table here? Because you do look young, but you started young too. So now you've got.
Yeah, well, in the business, we started the business December 2020, but we've been building for probably like 5 years before that in the Carpenters Union, and then we rehabbed the house that Jake bought.
And then also it's just like we were bartending, but this was like our side hustle was like, we do like a kitchen or bathroom or something like that on the side, and and then actually we were bartending at Fitz's Root Beer on Delmar. Speaking of St. Louis, yeah, so we both worked the dairy bar back there. And then during the COVID-19 pandemic, when we lost our jobs, that's when our side hustle became our careers. And then that's where we started this company, was because, the only intention that we had was to keep working, not like sit on unemployment or whatever, but we just wanted to like keep making money. But like our main hustle wasn't there anymore. So our side hustle became our main hustle. And here we are 3 years later, and it's like way bigger than anything I ever anticipated on,
With that, then let's take a little peek here, if we can. We'll take a look at your pictures that we've kind of assembled. You have so many pictures. I said, let's show some of your favorites, some of your best. I'm going to put up on the wall, everybody, to see some of your work. tell me a little bit about each one of these pictures. Whoever would like to discuss this a little bit, but yeah, take a look at that. That's a dynamite looking. And this is like, again, a great example. Not one of these ginormous decks, but just somebody gives them an outlet where they don't just walk out the back step and go down to the back door.
Yeah, so
place the lounge out a little bit. Jake?
This is the composite material. So it's not wood; it's recycled plastic, and so it's supposed to last, a lifetime, and it's not supposed to rot and anything like that. So that's kind of like a more expensive option. But if you have the money to spend on something you're really excited about, people usually use that, And then, of course, the metal railing always looks really nice with that. A lot of people, if they have the money to spend, will shy away from building it out of wood just because wood outside, it's going to rot, eventually.
And there's way less maintenance with the composite materials. It's more expensive up front, but like a wooden deck, you'll have to stain every couple of years and then sand down every 5 years and then re-stain and replace some boards here and there. So if you're going to be in the house for a long time, it actually saves you money doing the more expensive weatherproof version of a deck up front than getting a wood deck would. I mean, it's like way more expensive up front.
It's more expensive up front, but it also is like way less of a headache to deal with if you're going to be in the house for 20 years,
And it can even add some value to the house too. Obviously, you got a composite versus, and I know this is the opposite cedar or a treated deck, right?
Yeah. Right.
I've built.
You know what you're doing.
I've done this a little bit myself, and started off with a treated deck in my house, and actually ended up being something that had to be replaced within like 8 years. It wasn't. Well, it didn't last like 12
it depends on the maintenance. If you didn't maintain it at all, which is expensive too, you're like, oh, I'm not going to pay someone $5,000 to stain. I'll just do it myself. And then you just never do it yourself, and then all of a sudden 10 years goes by, you never did anything to it, then it's like...
Yeah, I went with the treated deck because they were supposed to last longer, and it didn't last as long as they had promised, and maybe I should have done some other intermittent... But now I do have the composite deck, and I've just learned, like, I don't hardly have to do anything. Spray it down. Wipe it down. I've got the vinyl rails. Just every once in a while, there'll be a little dirt, mold, or whatever. You just got a green algae, it looks like. And I just wipe it down. It takes 2 minutes. And there's nothing extraordinary about the labor that is involved there. Okay, let's continue with a couple of pictures. I gave everybody a quick preview there as I was testing. We do have our new viewer here. These guys have the high-tech cameras with the new style video or camera pictures, the HEIC extension. And so we've done some advanced stuff here. So, but with that, we have a picture. Tell me a little bit about your background together. And you happen to, as brothers, twins, go down to the new STL City.
Yeah, that was just on Sunday, actually, 2 days ago. 2 days ago.
2 days ago. And fun event, a packed house.
Yeah, it was awesome. We've been keeping up on TV, and our parents have like season tickets, so we finally got to go to a game they were missing. So that was nice.
And a little background that you guys have with regard to soccer, given family heritage a little bit there too.
Yeah, our father or stepfather is he's from England, so we grew up around soccer quite a bit. And when St. Louis finally got a team, it was like a pretty big deal within our immediate family household.
Well, it's a great picture of you guys. It's cool to see brothers hanging out together.
Yeah,
and, keep that sibling relationship together. The word we always hear is rivalry, but it looks like it's more of a friendship with you guys.
We're definitely good friends, and business has really helped us stay close instead of just like getting too focused on our own careers,
Very cool. All right, let's take a look here. I'm going to put that back up there. We'll scroll to our next picture as we look at some of the great work you got here. That's a double-decker deck. And I think, Noah, Jake, you want to share with us? You had a kind of a funny comment you made about this picture. People like...
Oh, yeah, people get easily impressed by tall objects.
So that is a tall object. So there's two decks, one feeding right up to the other, and posts supporting both. Pretty neat. And this is another one of those, not a huge deck, but it's two levels.
Yeah, this is a pretty standard St. Louis thing. You see a structure like this all over North City, all over South City. So we definitely keep this photo on hand because so many people call us wanting literally this exact same
design, the same dimensions, literally that. So, I mean, we got to the point where we could throw that thing up in like 5 to 7 working days, just because it's like the same thing every single time.
That was actually for a non-for-profit company here in St. Louis and North City, Revitalization 2000 or 3000, I think they're called. And they just help like low income housing, like keep their houses nice.
Well, that's great work. We'll have to talk about that. It's one of the questions we always get to, which is
I need
tell
to call
us about
them, man.
who are some of the charities you work with, some of the charitable work you do. We'll come back to that in a minute if you don't mind.
There's not much, so don't get too excited about
All
it.
right, well, yeah, I was gonna say keep it up. That's dynamite. All right, moving on here. It's another dynamite-looking deck here, everybody. This is something that obviously this is a lot of work. Multiple tiers again here. You got 3 platforms there. Tell everybody what was going on here and how these guys really enjoyed what they have here.
So, you know, this is an interesting situation because like, what this house basically needs is the same photo, the same deck that you saw before, you know? But with this gainway underneath here, these are offset a little bit, and they wanted access down here. And
Because
so,
there's 2 units.
yeah, there's 2 different units instead of it just being like a bedroom or something on top, you know? And so they need to get down. So this is kind of almost like, in theory, the same thing. Like you just got a small deck that goes out to your car, and then on the top they need to get down too. So we had to like scale it all the way down. There's this wall keeping us from going all the way. And then the property cuts off, so we had to build a little platform that brings it back around the same area. But they chose to do the composite boards as well, but they, because of expenses, I suppose, they went with like the wooden railing, and I think that's the first time we've done the combination of the 2. Kind of threw me off a little bit. I've actually already had to go back to like fix warped balusters because there's so many of them, you know? And pressure treated wood tends to warp like really easily. It doesn't really take much of like a small pressure or like temperature change for it to just like completely mess up.
Mental note to everybody, I do break out my noteworthy pencil here. Grab guys who are going to do good work that will come back to fix the things afterwards, because how often do you have a situation where there's just something that needs to be retouched? And then another note there was, I'm going to write this down here on my important notepad keyboard here, and that is when you have treated wood, it does warp.
Well,
and that's what I had with some of the boards on my old deck, and some of those things to consider when you're making these kinds of decisions.
yeah, you install it while it's still like kind of drying out from all the chemicals they pump it with, you know, and so as it's drying out, like in the sun or whatever the situation is, like it'll just naturally do that.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, not to hustle too much here because we've already covered a half hour of our show. This show is going to have another whole half hour we're going to produce here as we continue. So stay tuned for the full show. This is the Your Little Castle show and our half hour that airs on ABC. Stay tuned for the full thing. You can watch it on our YouTube channel. Giddy up.